Joan Baez is an American singer-songwriter and activist. She has been performing for over 60 years and has released over 30 albums. She has collaborated with other legendary activist musicians like Bob Dylan. Their love affair was short-lived, but defined a decade. Baez is also a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. She was born in Staten Island, New York in 1941. She began singing at a young age and also learned to play the ukulele. The instrument opened up her music horizon to folk music. At the age of 13, her aunt took her to a folk music concert by Pete Seeger, and Baez was greatly influenced by his music. Seeger was a political and social activist, and his music resonated well with Baez. He also was very active in promoting the civil rights movement. During the 1960s, folk music was big. Greenwich Village in New York City was the center of it all. People from all over gathered in small cafes to listen to activists sing music and speak on their cause. Baez performed at these cafes and events alongside many other activist musicians. She was immensely inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. as well, and took a huge part in the civil rights movement. She performed her song, "We Shall Overcome," at the March on Washington in front of over 200,000 people.
The very beautiful Joan Baez.
We shall overcome.
Baez sings, "We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday." Baez is talking about overcoming the hatred and violence that riddled the nation at this time. She's giving her listeners hope. Hope for a better, more peaceful tomorrow. People who listen to this song can gain faith in the possibility of a more accepting and inclusive society. Baez is trying to paint the picture of a brighter tomorrow.
Freedom, oh, freedom.
Well, the first I would talk about King's influence on me, which started when I was 16. That was the beginning of that era in my life. And I was at a Selamar conference, which was a big conference of kids from all over the country. And we talked about political issues, social issues. And that year, Dr. King was the guest speaker. And I was dissolved in tears for the whole speech, because I'd read about nonviolence and I knew about nonviolence, and they were doing it. You know, they were walking in the streets and they were walking to their freedom, basically. And I was a mess. Thank you.
This is my song, thou God of all the nations.
Baez also supported the peace movement against the war in Vietnam. She famously sung the song Finlandia, which was not written by Baez, but by Finnish composer Jean Siblio in 1899. Baez sings a song of peace for lands afar and mine, but other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. Baez is singing to remind us that we must remember that although countries may seem different from our own, we must respect them and want peace for them too. Because in the end, we're all really not that different. We all have a place we call home, and we should want peace for everyone's homes. Peace is important in every part of the world, not just our own.
My country's skies are bluer than the ocean.
At the age of 26, Baez was taken into custody at an armed forces induction center in Oakland, California. The sit-in protest was in hopes of stopping the draft week. Baez was in custody for 11 days before being released.
Come round by my side, and I'll sing you a song.
On September 15, 1963, the 16th Street Baptist Church held a campaign to register African American voters during the Civil Rights Movement. Alabama Governor George Wallace had the church bombed in hopes of stopping progression in the integration and equality movement. The bombing killed 4 young girls who were at the church attending Sunday school. The song Birmingham Sunday was written by Richard Farina, who was Joan Baez's brother-in-law. The two both famously sung the song. Baez sings, "The falcon of death was a creature they knew, and the choir kept singing of freedom. On Birmingham Sunday, a noise shook the ground, and people all over the earth turned around. The Sunday has come, the Sunday has gone, and I can't do much more than sing you a song. I'll sing it so softly, I'll do no wrong." And the choir kept singing of freedom. Those participating in the movement knew their lives could be threatened, but continued to fight for freedom anyway. Throughout the song, Baez repeatedly says how the choir kept singing of freedom, that no matter what was going on around them, they had their hearts and souls set on freedom. Their bravery, strength, and dedication should never be forgotten, and that is why Baez sung the song. At this tense, violent, sad time in American history, people needed some ray of light, some glimmer of hope. Baez's music offered her listeners a warm light in a cold, dark time of hatred and hostility. Baez's career in music and activism continue today. She has performed at legendary venues such as Woodstock and Live Aid, promoting social justice, and was honored with the Ambassador of Conscience Award by Amnesty International in 2015. Her songs and lyrics can also be associated with the struggles in the present-day American society. The LGBTQ rights movement is the decade's civil rights movement, and with all of the discrimination and insensitivity, I think Baez's music needs to be heard now more than ever.
Thank you. What has given my life deep meaning and unending pleasure has been to use my voice in the battle against injustice.